Yo, hey,
Yo, what's up? Good morning.
how's it
Good morning.
going? Morning.
Good. Tired, bro.
Yeah, you
Been a,
guys.
been a long week
Yeah,
already.
how's everything going with all those staff changes?
I mean, it's going. I mean, nothing's really changed. Well, other than Lewis being gone, that's it right now.
Gotcha.
Um, I don't know what we're gonna move towards or whatever. If we're gonna hire somebody different or see how the team functions without him. Um, Probably see what the team does without him for a little bit. Um, yeah, we just finished our what's it called? This weekend we had our outdoor event,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and so like that's why I don't have like anything
yeah,
loaded
yeah.
up. But it was good. It was hot, man. It was so hot. I feel like I darkened like two or three shades, man. Like crazy. I know I have like a farmer's
Oh
tan
god,
going on,
nice.
man. But yeah, we had like a giant D&B PA system hung on like one of those like mobile stages that's like a truck that folds out or whatever,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. um and we were out there. We set the stage up. Set the stage got set up on Friday. We were there Saturday morning at like 6 in the morning with like 10 other people, just getting the PA hung, getting the stage set, the instruments, line check at like 11, and we had like sound check with the band at 1. I couldn't believe we pulled it off
Nice,
in that
nice. How
heat.
many people did you have helping you out?
So we had like two shifts. I had like 10 people, or 6 people in the morning, plus the vendors who came out to like that we rented the PA and stuff from. So it was like four. We had 11 people total, and then at 9 o'clock, we had 6 of those guys leave, and another 6 come in from like 9 to 11, handling
Nice.
like input, and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the band came at like 1, finished up, like plugged in their instruments and got set, got their in-ears in, and we started sound check at like 1 o'clock. Actually, 12:30. We were running ahead, which was great. We were ahead
Nice.
of schedule, and yeah, and service was at 5, and I was pretty much outside the entire freaking day, and then I had to upload. We did record the service off of one camera. It was just a still shot the entire time. I did upload that to Living as One. Um, I tried to upload it like beta. They like let me beta the upload thing,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but our format was all jacked up, and I had to like put it in the handbrake and try to get it to the right format. It took me like
Oh.
4 or 5 times before I just gave up and was like, I'm just gonna play it through our Pro Presenter and do it that way. So I was at the church until like 11:30 that Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, bro. It was rough.
long day.
It was a long day, and then I was back at it again at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. So
Oh, I know how that goes, man. Cool. Was it what was it successful? I
yes,
mean,
yeah, it was
good.
super
I mean it,
successful. I
yeah.
don't know how many people actually came out to service, but I think we had like 90 to 100 cars each service, which was pretty good. And you've got, I don't know how many people, it depends, 1 to 5 people in a car or something like that, so
Right.
I'm sure they're doing the numbers, and we'll probably hear probably later today or tomorrow what the actual numbers were.
Nice.
um, but I think people had a great time. I mean, we rocked it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, my pastor actually, he does this 11:02 prayer thing on his Instagram every day. So he had me on the 11:02 and just interview
Nice.
like me about like how everything got how it happened, how it got all set up, and all that kind of stuff, and what it took. And so that was pretty interesting.
That's cool.
I never get to be in front of the camera like that. Spot, Spotlighted, so that was pretty cool.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Um, let's dive into. Let's just talk about the chapter then, and then any
Yeah,
questions you got for me. So let's do what chapter was that? Chapter 5. Wow, man, going everything's
yeah,
going quick.
I know, man. Um, and this one was the chapter, the older brother syndrome.
Yeah,
And man, I mean, I remember I think my dad even preached on this type of thing one time. You know, it's
nice.
funny because it was like familiar to me and stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, um, I like that where the older brother, I mean, the older brother like put a damper on the party when his brother came home, the kind of thing. You know, I never thought of it that way, but like, yeah, I mean, it's when somebody comes to Christ or somebody, recommits themselves, it's a party. You know, it's like we should be
Right,
happy for that person. And sometimes, I guess, in ministry, sometimes I think I'm kind of walking through it a little bit now with Lewis. You know,
right,
the way he left and just the way you do things in ministry. Um, you can't help but feel like, but no, in ministry it's more than just 2 weeks. It's more than this. And, like you should have done this. You should have done that to like, if you were feeling burnt out, you should have said something. You should have walked it out. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, you don't just because, anyway, it was like a little bit of
totally.
that older brother syndrome where you think you know the law better instead of the
Right,
love. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, oh yeah, like I should really err on the love side of things instead of like just I guess religiosity of like, hey, no, man, this is how things should be, or how you should do things based off of ministry. Like, sure, there are things that we see that are incorrect and stuff like that, but who knows what that person's walking through, and they may be doing something where they're putting, like he said, putting his family first and ministry first, and that's above all. If he's trying to show love first,
right,
then that's what we're called to do. So anyway, so yeah, that. And in thinking about the chapter and how it pertains to like our team and in production, we have a lot of flawed people, that we work with, um, and we have to be the ones to kind of like give and show and give them the picture that Father God is just waiting for them to come back, from whatever failure or whatever thing that they've done, or feel that they whatever sin that they feel like they've done or committed. And I guess as leaders we have to be the ones to kind of show that we can't be like Jonah and be like, well, why are you going to forgive him? Look what he did, and look what I
right.
like, I've been perfect, I've been great. It's like
Yeah,
we have to be on that other side of like we really do, it's hard, we really do have to show the example of the prodigal father.
right.
um
Yeah, and it's hard
and
too
sometimes
because
sometimes
you want to get you want to get into that boss mode, right? Especially so you want to get into that you know if they make a mistake and it's something big, like for instance, I think one of the coolest things my old boss showed me was like there was a we hired somebody new. He's still with me now, and he during I think it was only his second day on the job, and he dropped a the I think it was like $6,000 lens. He dropped it in front of the boss. It was like four. It was like four, five, about 4.5 feet. Like it fell, and he's like, "Oh my gosh," and it was easy for he could have easily just like, what are you doing? Like I hired you, and you're supposed to be your job in this, and you're making simple mistake, like you dropped, you weren't being careful, but instead he just laughed it off and he said, hey, it happens, it's like normal, things like that to really show compassion, right? Show that
Yeah,
um the one of the things I do for on this chapter with my team, I talk about more about like pleasing others, because he talks about that in the chapter. Like I used to go, you know, through my life in ministry, and my whole goal was like, yeah, I thought like in my head, right? In my head, it was, oh, it's about getting people saved and all this stuff. But really, in my heart, I just wanted the approval of my pastor, right? I wanted to do things and hey, look at what I did, and
Yeah,
this whole chapter really just like shifts that whole paradigm and be like, you know what? It's not about that. It's not about even competition or comparison. Uh, and really, I love how he breaks down from comparison. It can go into envy. It can go into like jealousy and all this stuff. And how that's like
yeah,
a super slippery slope. Like when you look at these other churches, that are doing, Elevation's definitely doing stuff way better than we are here. As far as like even online hosting and all that stuff. And it's like, man, I could easily get down to like, oh gosh, why can't we do that? Or just totally
yeah,
envious of them, right? And so it's easy to get down that slippery slope, but instead of celebrating them, that's part of the reason why, like, for me, like, I even I regularly get together with them, like from Elevation, Life Church, things like that, because I wanted to keep this. I wanted it not to be about competition and things like that, because it's easy for us to get into that in the production world, right?
yeah, for
So I
sure.
wanted it to be more along the lines of, hey, you know, we're one family. We're all in this together. We're doing this. We got the same goals. And
Yep.
so every once in like every few months, we'll all hop together on a Zoom call and just chat, see how everybody's doing, just talk and stuff. But all of that
That's
to
really
say,
cool.
it's one of those things that for my team, it's like I don't want them to be even them to be trapped in that, like, man, like, we're doing some cool stuff, man. Did you see what Elevation's doing? Oh man, I wish I could do that thing, that kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
mindset. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's the biggest takeaway that I kind of push towards my team. It's like, guys, like, realize what you're doing here and recognize what you're doing here is super great, and this is for you and your season, and what God is doing here. Like, God is doing amazing stuff in North Carolina, you know
yeah,
but it's, everybody has God's basically put them in their places where he wants them, and let's learn to celebrate that versus always trying to compare or trying to like, man, did you see what Bethel did? Oh man, yeah, versus like, yeah, did you see what Bethel did? That's really cool. Like, yes, that's awesome. Like, champion them, and then like, okay, now how
yeah,
can we be better? How can we do this?
for
How can
sure.
we
Like I mean, I felt like that. I felt like that today with the this past weekend on Sunday. I was talking to so we had our church services, and then our student ministry had their services in the afternoon on the same stage on Sunday. And so they have a really good relationship with a guy a production guy who uh, lives in Alexandria. He's about Arlington, about 45 minutes away from us. And he's like really tech savvy engineer type. Like he knows how to, you know, engineer a room and what you need as far as like projection screens and audio and all that kind of stuff. And working with QSys and Crestron, all that kind of stuff, all the intricate stuff. And anyway, we were talking with him after everything, um, and we were just talking about ministry and how he doesn't even for his church that he works at, he's the facilities manager. He's not even the production guy,
ah,
but like his heart is in like that he basically helps every ministry, not just one. And he's like, and that's
nice.
what I want to. That's what I want to do. I want to touch every ministry, not just the one. And it's like, oh wow, okay, cool. And we were talking about how you know some of us are at this stage of life where we're like, you're good at mixing, you're good as as an engineer and guy who building the systems, and you're good at audio, you're good at video, you're good at, and it's instead of like comparing ourselves to one another, we're just like, hey, what's your ministry doing, and what do you love about your
Totally.
ministry? I mean, the guy who hung our speakers and tuned them for our outdoor event, he is the production manager for Passion City Church here in DC, the DC campus. I mean,
Nice.
knows that dude knows audio. He's like up there, right? And I'm like, and not one time did we like compare ourselves to each other or not, or did we like, you know what I mean? We all were like, oh, that's really awesome what you're doing there. That's great. And da da da. And it's like it was like for one, like the first time in my life where I got together with like other production people, and it wasn't about like what gear we use and oh you should be using that
Nice.
instead of you know what I mean, and it was really
Totally.
really
It's
cool
so
to
great.
see other people in
Yeah.
that mindset, which is awesome. um and yeah, it takes a while to get there, and I feel like sometimes, and I think even with production, with your production volunteers, like there's probably even, you know, one of those things I look out for is comparison versus, you know, between the volunteers. Like, oh,
Right.
you know, that camera one, man, he's so much better than us. Like, or like camera two is not as good as the camera three person or whatever. Like, yo, like we have to like be sure we're not comparing each other even to ourselves, you know, to our fellow people that we work with and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't that crazy? How we can
yeah.
easily, especially in church production, actually churches in general, really like the one thing I hated about Las Vegas was it was really about competition between every church. Like it's very rare. Well,
Mm,
you'll have like maybe at most out of the hundreds of churches in Vegas, at most you'll have like two or three that are actually like have relationship with each other and they can just sit down and break bread and be friends.
yeah.
Everybody there is in competition, like, and whether they admit it or not, you can tell just by their actions and how they do things. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's part of the reason why I love moving up here too. It's because like all of you know yeah, we're the biggest church in town, but at the same time, like, we still have relationship with pretty much every church here. Like, our Good Friday service is not just a Bethel thing; it's a citywide church service where even the worship team is comprised of worship leaders from different churches,
Wow.
and the whole church as a like a the citywide church puts on a Good Friday service. So it's one of those things.
Wow.
It's like, man, it's really cool to really like have that, like, it's not no competition, and you can tell like it's super genuine. Like, it's not like they, yeah, I'm gonna be a part of this group just because I'm a church here, but man, I hate Bethel, or I really wish that I could be like Bethel, that kind of a deal. You can
Yeah,
tell, and it's really cool to see just these pastors just come together and just break bread, be friends, and help each other out as much as they can.
that's so good. Yeah. I
Yeah,
noticed um you know Matt Morgan
yeah,
from Life
yeah.
Church. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I met him while he was still working for a church down here in West Virginia. Like he's like it's
Nice.
like 40 minutes away from where I live. Um yeah, a friend of mine took me to that church, and I met Matt right before he left to Oklahoma. It was like, I think it was like Easter, like that weekend of Easter was like his first like, you know, weekend
Yeah,
there at Life Church or whatever. So yeah, good dude.
nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Small
That's
world.
cool.
And I think,
I know, right?
is it Greg? You're one of your camera guys. Is his name Greg?
No.
Oh my gosh, totally forgetting. One of your camera
All good.
guys is from Virginia.
Yeah, yeah. I have three actually. So, well, no, was it she? Yeah, is she from West Virginia or Virginia? No, I think it's Virginia. So Jaden's from Virginia.
Yeah.
I do have the Australian volunteer that I had on the call, Yana. She spent like, gosh, I think like 6 or 7 years in Virginia at a church there, and then my Jared is from
Jared. That's what I'm
yeah,
talking about. Jared.
yeah, 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 from Virginia as well.
So
Yeah,
small,
it's
small
funny.
world.
I know
He
how.
like he like I think I follow him on Facebook now, and I think he was and grew up like really close by to where I grew up. So it's like that's so
Wow,
funny. Yeah.
let's go. Oh man,
Yeah,
crazy.
it is.
You got any questions for me? I know we don't have a thing because you did the outdoors thing, so.
Sure. Oh, I was gonna ask you about so to this weekend, and you'll see it on video. We basically we're gonna have our entire back wall, our back line, our musicians are all basically in a line in the back, right behind the
Gotcha.
singers. So it's like you're gonna like let's say bird's eye view, band,
Uh huh.
singers. But
Gotcha.
this is so wide and they're on a platform and we're gonna have people for the first time in service. And
Nice.
I'm thinking like my two side camera people, I'm gonna
Uh huh.
have them walk in front of the stage, that platform that they're on, the risers that they're on, to just to get shots of like the guitar player and the bass player.
Right.
Because if not, if they stay on the wings, they're only going to be getting profile of
Yeah.
the band, of the singers, and profile of the band, and like close-ups of the keys and bass drums, like we have been. But we wouldn't be able to get anything of like a close-up of like guitar player or bass player. Um,
Right.
what what's your advice for me for that, as far as like because we're gonna have people in the room, and I know that I don't know we've never done this with people in the room before. um there's a couple of things
Gotcha.
that I'm thinking about, like what's my reply to people that say like, oh, it's distracting to have those camera people on stage behind the singers, walking around. And also, um what would you recommend, what, like, as far as direction for them to do?
Are you is your uh sorry, because I deal with a few of you guys that don't do IMAG on the screens. Do you guys have IMAG on the screens?
We're going to be doing IMAG, yes. We're
Okay.
on the screen right above them.
Okay. Is it the same feed or is it a separate
Same
same
feed.
feed? Okay.
Yeah.
So to deal with the distraction part, I always refer to look at what they're getting. Like this, the reason why they're on stage like this and going in front of people is because we're trying to create that an environment where people at home that aren't comfortable enough to come back to church yet, or and people that can't come to church, we want to create an environment for them to feel, included, basically feel what it's like in the room and feel the presence of God. In
Yeah.
order to do that, we have to have cameras in unusual spots,
Yeah. Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
and that way it can kind of like, oh, okay, and then you can always refer them, what they're doing, is, yeah, it looks like they're just standing there, but I look at the IMAG, look at the screen, you can see the shot they're getting and how much, how I guess how cool it is not the right word, but you know where I'm going. You can
Well,
see how good it looks, and
how
yes,
engaging it is. This
engaging.
is
There you
what
go.
this is.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a good word to
um,
use.
yeah, yeah, and so that's how I would go about that for that part. As far as shots go, I would do two things. Are they both wireless or hardline?
They're hard line, yeah, but they can get
Okay,
anywhere with that cable.
gotcha. So I would definitely do what you're talking about, coming in front. How high is the that platform that they're going to be on? Like,
It's not that high. I think it's only about maybe 6 inches off the ground.
oh, okay, that's not too bad. No, if it was
No.
any higher than like if it was like 2 feet, a foot and a half to 2 feet, then what I would suggest is you have one stay on the floor area on the stage, and almost like a pit shot, for each of the band and stuff, and then try to have one of them on the platform itself, kind of getting like some cool reverses with a shot with a wider lens kind of deal. Um, that being said, because it's only a few inches, then what you're talking about is totally fine. Yeah, just
Yeah.
being in front of them, getting some shots, try to stitch together a few shots, um, especially since they're all in a line, you know. So you kind of stitch together a few shots or figure out, if you can. I would suggest kind of like, if you can, like if they're all in a line from the bird's eye view here, like if this is the bass and the guitar is right next to them, if you can stagger them a little bit, just to
Hmm.
kind of give your angles, especially because most of the time you're going to be shooting from the like a side profile ish shot, so it
Yeah.
gives you like that, that gives you that kind of an angle so you can get two different, you can rack focus and stuff. That's what I do.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I think I might share with you, or maybe send a picture of like a bird's eye view of our stage, maybe, and
Gotcha.
maybe like draw like the
Yeah.
dimensions maybe on top of, like, just give you that shot and see if maybe we can talk about stage setups and something maybe we could be doing a little bit differently as far as where we're placing our people and stuff like that, because we're going to come up here soon where we're going to like think about changing the stage and doing something a little bit different. But it'd be cool to see what you think, because we think that our stage is very shallow,
Right.
but maybe there's something there that we could do, thinking about video and audience, and see if there's a way we could, because you guys have so much depth, and I think having that depth on stage is awesome, because you can then like put people in different positions and stuff like that. But we feel like we're so narrow, and that all we ever think about is straight lines for some reason. I'm like, and I want to break that, but I'm so
Right.
used to the same thing. I feel like I need someone else to look and go, no, dude, like, look at this space right here, do this.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah. No, that'd be great. We can definitely do that.
awesome.
Cool.
All right, man.
Any other questions?
No, that's all really. Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
the good idea.
Cool.
Like, just to reiterate the, hey man, we have it on iMac. This is what people are seeing, because we
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
want we do want the experience online not to come down just because we have people in the room and go back to like
Right.
hiding the cameras. Nah, like,
Oh, totally.
this
Yeah.
is this is part of our culture now. We have camera people, like, and they're in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's like we created this engaging experience, and we want to keep that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think our pastor's going to keep the table and chair thing too. And
Nice.
um, so I think that makes it easier for us, as far as like, we don't have to follow. We don't like, the lights can be right on them, and whatever, we can make that more dedicated, whatever. So yeah,
Awesome.
should be good.
Cool. Yeah. Send that drawing those specs over to me, and then I'll give you some ideas. Other
Cool.
than that, yeah, just continue working on everything as far as cinema verte, all that stuff. Movement, cutting,
Yep.
and all that stuff. And I will see you next week, my friend.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome.
All
See ya.
right, man. Have a good week.
Yeah, great connecting. All right.
You too, man.